You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from deep within FEMA Region 3 is Jim Poesl with Safety Wars for Tuesday, May 12, 2026. Sorry we're getting here late. We're switching things over at the radio station and everything. And, computers. I don't need to tell you. I'm not going to say it's a conspiracy. I've been accused of that. Too much conspiracy, Jim. Oh, well, we're here. So, how many of you folks PO on Thursday with my commentary there on the whole alien thing, right? We're going to have to put that on social media there. And it's, it is what it is. It is what it is with that. And the other thing is this. Everybody is commenting on it, right? And what I find frustrating, right? No, people are very well-intentioned. People are very, very well-intentioned with everything. And often, a lot of times, especially in a religious environment, doesn't matter what denomination you are, whatever it is, people don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? The word I'm looking for is annoy, aggravate, motivate everybody wants to be meek and mild and everything else. And sometimes you have to, and the most successful churches, most successful mosques, synagogues, everything else that I've observed, they challenge you. And that's what the whole thing was with me, was to challenge people. That's why I comment on religious things here from time to time. And don't worry, this is not going to be a religious program per se, but when appropriate, I'm going to mention it. I mean, I'm still going to broadcast the Safety Warriors Christmas album, right? The Safety Warriors. That's going to happen, right? And if they're along those lines. So what I want to do right off the bat, we're going to go right to feature story news. And then we're going to come back.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Tony Waterman. The Pentagon says the cost of the war with Iran so far is close to $29 billion. That's $4 billion more than the estimate 2 weeks ago. The Pentagon comptroller, Jules Hurst, says the higher price tag includes the repair and replacement of equipment, as well as operational costs to keep service members in the region. The update came during a hearing on Capitol Hill as the Trump administration answers questions over its $1.5 trillion budget request for next year, the largest in history.
The president's budget request reflects the urgency of the moment.
The Iran war costs are separate from the Pentagon budget request. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said during the hearing that the White House would ask for whatever it thinks it needs for the war, and signaled the U.S. could re-escalate the conflict if necessary. U.S. inflation has hit its highest level in 3 years as gas prices surge and Americans feel the domestic pressures of the war in the Middle East. FSN's Mitch McCann reports.
The Consumer Price Index rose 0.6% in April, putting its one-year pace at 3.8%, well above the Federal Reserve's long-standing goal of 2% for inflation. Core inflation, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, highlights the impact the war in the Middle East is having because it is much lower than headline inflation. Core CPI increased 0.4% in April and 2.8% year over year. Energy prices were up 3.8%, and over 12 months, energy has increased 17.9%. Bad news for workers as well, as hourly wages slipped 0.5% and were down 0.3% annually. It comes as the White House hopes to end the stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz, where a fifth of the world's oil supply usually flows.
A total of 11 hantavirus cases have been reported as of Tuesday morning, with global health officials warning that number could rise. 18 Americans who were aboard the cruise ship at the center of the deadly outbreak are being monitored at health facilities in the U.S. FSN's Kate Fisher reports.
One passenger who tested positive is in a biocontainment unit at the University of Nebraska, while 15 others are quarantining at its National Quarantine Center. 2 passengers, including one who is symptomatic, have been sent to a biocontainment unit at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. The risk to the rest of the country remains low, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. The World Health Organization says there may be more cases than the initial count due to interactions between passengers before the first cases were confirmed as infectious.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today about life in Iran as the US and Israeli war on the country continues. We've been hearing from journalist Ali Hashem, who has just spent 50 days reporting from Tehran. He's a senior correspondent with Al Jazeera. He is Lebanese and has been watching Iranians adapt to months of war and economic uncertainty. He told Foreign Policy magazine that at points of heightened military threats to Iran, even many people who are normally critical of the country's governing regime rallied around the Iranian flag.
Many people decided that it's time to stand by their country, regardless of their point of view towards the system. They would say that whenever there is no war, we can protest the system. But when there is a war, when there are bombs falling on the country, we have to be with our country. For example, the day President Trump said he is going to wipe the civilization. These were big days in major squares in Iran, and not only in Tehran, in several cities. People will pour there, and they will show this feeling or this mood of resilience and defiance at the same time.
President Trump has stepped back in recent days from some of that more threatening language, but after describing the regime's latest response to his peace proposals as totally unacceptable, it's far from clear where the conflict is heading, nor how it will be resolved.
And a recap of today's headlines. The Pentagon says the cost of the war with Iran is close to $29 billion, higher than an estimate given 2 weeks ago. U.S. inflation has hit its highest level in 3 years as gas prices surge and Americans feel the domestic pressures of the war in the Middle East. 11 hantavirus cases have been reported as of Tuesday morning, with global health officials warning the number could rise. That's Feature Story News. Tony Waterman reporting.
Thank you, Tony Waterman. All right, we're going to talk about this whole thing here with the hantavirus. And the default, unfortunately, right, now we're in a position, beginning of COVID, I was not in a position, I did not have this venue, I did not have this access to everybody here. By the way, believe this is the 544th program. We did not have 543 programs behind us. I had a microphone. I went on Facebook Live, and you wouldn't believe the comments that I got. You talk about comments on you go back and, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So let me back up here. Right. This week, I am giving a presentation, like I mentioned, at Rutgers University for one of their recertification programs. It's going to be, we're going to be talking about hantavirus and some other things for the presentation. So part of the recertification process for disaster response worker training is that you have to actually present. And that's at Rutgers. Some of the other facilities were affiliated with University of California, San Diego, and the TEACS system from Texas A&M. You don't have to present. At Rutgers, you have to present, and you get critiqued. And since their local area office for OSHA is in the area and in the neighborhood, and people like to go, I guess, I'm saying it's tongue-in-cheek, since they like to go out on a Friday afternoon in the summer, we get audited often. I digress. So what did we learn from COVID with the COVID reports and everything else that came in the after action report from Congress from December of last year? Blame the worker, blame the people. Now, and we like to think that that's an American thing, but that's international. Here we have an article from mirror.co.uk. Dutch hospital workers forced to quarantine after possible hantavirus exposure due to PPE failure. Now, this is the byline. They failed to follow specific strict protocols set by the hospital to contain the hantavirus infection. Well, shame on them, right? Shame on them. Right? And will now have to remain in preventive quarantine for 6 weeks as a result. Sounds like blame the worker there. So let's go back. And this is an article by Rachel Vickers-Price. The hospital said it became clear on Saturday that some had not been following the most up-to-date international regulations and had risked exposure to the deadly hantavirus. First of all, I didn't know that they were international regulations. Under whose authority is that? Right? Maybe that's maybe the article will say that. A dozen hospital workers in the Netherlands will be thrown into quarantine after they skipped strict PPE protocols when dealing with a patient who had been aboard the hantavirus-stricken cruise ship, the MV Hondias. The Netherlands Radboud University Medical Center confirmed on Monday that 12 of his staff members had risk contamination. They had failed to follow specific, strict protocols when handling the blood and urine of an infected person who had been aboard the virus-plagued vessel. Despite the risk of infection being low, the 12 healthcare workers remain in preventative quarantine for 6 weeks as a precaution. How much you want to make a bet that they're trying to scare people here? I think that right now, I'm not saying this is not a serious situation. Believe me, I get it. This is serious. But I've been on one of these bioterrorism jobs where a number of people died. A number of people got sick from the incidents. So back in 2001, coming on 25 years. So I get it 100% here. But now can you imagine the lockdowns we could have here? If this spreads, you thought that COVID-19 was hell. Now, that was 2 weeks. Now we're going to 6 weeks of quarantine. How's that gonna look? What's gonna happen here? The patient infected with the rat-borne virus has been in a hospital since Wednesday after being medically evacuated from the ill-fated Dutch vessel that has been at the center of an international health emergency in recent weeks. Blood was drawn from the patient and processed using standard safety precautions due to the nature of the virus. This blood should have been processed according to a stricter procedure, a hospital spokesman confirmed on Monday. In addition, it became clear on Saturday, May 9th, that the most up-to-date international regulations had not been followed. What are those regulations, right? Staff members will receive any support needed while in isolation in the University Medical Center. Added with the board chair of Radboud UMC, Dr. Bertine Lahuis, attempted to reassure the public the risk to the broader population remains low. Despite the fact that the chance of actual infection is very small, these measures have a significant impact on all those involved. We regret that this has happened at our University Medical Center, she said, adding careful investigation. And the article goes on, right? No problem here. Isolation methods, typical. Team that specializes in training and care of patients with severe infectious diseases. And it goes on and on with that. You know, it's like this. We really don't care. And here we go from the U.S. Sun. Key development that would force U.S. schools to close over hantavirus fears as travelers from rat virus ship return to U.S. Concerns are continuing to grow over how the hantavirus outbreak could affect the U.S. after one American tested positive for the rat-borne disease. Some fear that schools could close if the hantavirus outbreak were to pose a greater risk to the public, but health experts have revealed that an unlikely development would need to happen for a shutdown. Since the outbreak began on the MV Hondias cruise, 3 people have died and several others have tested positive for hantavirus, a rare rat-borne illness typically spread through contact with infected rodents. The WHO, World Health Organization, previously confirmed the strain of the outbreak is the Andes virus, which can be transmitted between humans through prolonged and close contact. 18 Americans, including one British citizen, going on, right? So here we have the public anxiety has increased since the outbreak began, with some parents worried that schools would close like they did during COVID. Dr. Jennifer Dunphy, doctor of public health based in California, told the U.S. Sun on Tuesday that school closures are unlikely. Right now, there's almost zero probability, she said, that the schools would close. All right? And they go down and down and down. Right? Schools, right? And Dunphy believes that schools closed during COVID as a precaution measure because the virus was unknown at that time. We closed schools. We weren't sure or confident how COVID was going to impact children. Well, at least she's being honest on that one, unlike other people. Hantavirus has been around a very long time. Now, something I want to point out to you folks is this. So hantavirus, what is it? Basically, you come into contact with infected rodents or their urine, saliva, or feces. Hantavirus was first recognized in the U.S. in 1993 as when it was discovered in New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah, right there in the Four Corners area. Between 1993 and 2023, were 890 cases of hantavirus reported. Those who contact have early symptoms of fatigue, fever, and muscle aches. About half of all people contract this disease. Where is my mouth? Can experience dizziness, chills, headaches, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. And the virus is deadly if it goes to heart, lungs, or kidneys. And basically 40% kill rate on this disease. Now, what they don't tell you in this article is this. There are 800 and some cases. There are almost 900. That's from the endemic disease already. I don't know what the deal is with the Handias virus, but there's been some speculation, as usual, that it was came out of a lab somewhere or something like that. Until I see evidence of that, I'm not going to believe that. However, something like 10% of the rodents in this country have hantavirus. So this is not something, this is an exotic disease. It's over there, right? So for example, they have different strains like New York 1, New York 2, the Sinobre variety. All of those are out in, are already in the population, so 10%. So what am I telling you? When I present on Friday, what I'm going to stress is that this is already here, number one. Number two, we already have known cases. Nothing's been shut down yet here with these. Number three is you do the regular precautions with this. What kind of precautions should you be taking? Several with this. Now, again, check the CDC and the EPA. I'm not the EPA, what am I saying? The OSHA website and all those other websites here, and check back here with that. So basically what you're looking at is when I clean up rodent, this is what I do, peer-to-peer. When I clean up rodent droppings, remember, I own a log cabin. That was vacant for several years. We had rodents in there, we had mice in there, and everything else. First thing we did was clean out the whole place from top to bottom. Got anything that could be a food source out of the place. Number one. Number two, always wear an N95 mask minimum. With the dual cartridges, right? The elastomeric, not the filtering face use respirators. Number three, I always had gloves. And if it really was a lot, and this is not that I had it in the house, but outside the house, in the real world of environmental cleanups, I always have the folks wear a minimum equivalent Tyvek suit with that. And along with the gloves and the safety glasses or goggles and the hard hat, depending on what you're doing, you need a hazard assessment on that. With that, but again, how many of us have had to clean up rodent excrement in our house? A lot of us, right? Especially if you live in the country, a lot of us have had to do that, especially when a chipmunk got into the house. Oh, that was a story for another day. My cats were afraid of it. But anyway, yeah, running all over, yeah. Paper tigers I have for cats. Anyway, what a mess these things make. So we've never really had a problem, so I'm not exactly sure what 890 people died. All right, that's 40%, so you figure we're going to double it. So close to 2,000 people have had this illness that we know of, likely in this country. So how big of a hazard is it? I don't know. Again, unless it got out of a laboratory somewhere and these animals we're carrying them on a ship there. We'll be watching this situation here. Hopefully this will be like the Ebola thing where it blew over after about a month. And by the way, state of New Jersey consulted with me on how to manage that in 2015, 2016 on that. So again, keep your head in the game here. Let's not panic. Let's not cause any type of panic here. Now, this is the other thing I want to point out. We have a leader in our community of the vocational technical system. It's called BOCES. I won't mention her name, but she lives very, very close to me. And do you remember during the COVID situation, we all went out and we got to know our neighbors, because in my community, it seems like all of North Jersey and New York, you don't get to know your neighbors so much. But because there was nothing to do, and right about that time, I got sick of watching TV, so I stopped watching TV. Now, yeah, I'll watch Star Trek and maybe one or two other shows, and that's about it. And sports, of course. No, you go out and you're talking, and anyway, the head of this organization was looking for someone like me to help them, to help them out there and everything. Anyway, long story short, or short story long, it is Safety Wars. We were talking about the Stafford Act and how the states are the ones who manage these situations. And I said, the time to have this type of debate is not during the emergency. The time to have this debate is immediately after the emergency, so we can maybe improve the system. To my knowledge, that has not happened in this country. We had all these problems with the response, and not a damn thing was done. Nothing. This is where the problem is. This is where the problem exists here, is with this. Again, COVID happened. We won't have to deal with this for another 100 years. Because last time this happened was the Spanish flu. And if you recall, I went back and did a deep dive and got all the newspaper articles from during the Spanish flu, right? A whole bunch of them. And they were the same issues that we were dealing with the COVID compliance. Now, what do I recommend? There has to be a specific, they're talking about regulations for the hospitals in these articles. You got to, how about for the public? How about we have guidelines for the public, guidelines for the health departments here that are consistent and that makes sense? And realize, and this is where HOP comes in, we have to realize that safe is not zero on this. Safe and safety is, we're going to have procedures that we know, the best possible procedures to prevent this. That's how it has to be framed. Not like this, the first article from the Mirror and from the UK, where they go and they borderline defame these people. Are we ever going to get a report on this? What did they do? Shame on them that they would not follow protocols. And this is what it comes down to. We have the hierarchy of controls. You have elimination right at the top, and then it goes to substitution, and then engineering, and that's where OSHA and every organization tells you to try to stay at. The least reliable way of doing things is what? PPE and administrative controls. Right? Can we all agree on that? So here we have people that screwed up on the administrative controls, which are apparently recently updated, and PPE. It's the most unreliable way of handling this. So my question is this. Why are we blaming humans, like this article here, for being human, for being a human being? And I'll circle back to religion. Why are we blaming them for having the original sin? That's what it all comes down to. That's why it's important. We have that. So what do we do? In summary, stop blaming people. Number 2, define exactly what safety is. And that's where we come in if you're a hot practitioner. Number 3, you have procedures and you have rules and the right PPE. But the more important thing is to try to eliminate things and engineer things out, because you're relying on human beings. And at the start, in every horror movie, right, what happens? A human being makes a mistake in releasing some kind of biohazard of some sort, right? That's just not in the movies. It could be here too. And that's what my message is tonight. Yeah, this is truncated about 28 minutes, but that's what we have to do, folks. Get on board now. Set up your protocols now. Set up things now. And I'm imploring your state and your municipalities to do that now. And this might be a good practice run to do that and have that conversation. And that is how we're going to win the safety war. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Poesl. Hope to see you in person and visually tomorrow night. Hi, Of course, I hit the wrong button.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, safety transmission. The final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.